Well, now that the schools have concluded one of the oddest school years on record, we figured it was time to get an update from the Addison Early Childhood Collaborative as well as one of their partners. So I'm here today with Mary Haley, our usual collaborative guest, as well as Wendy Craven from the Outreach and Development Director for Autism and Behavior Specialists out of Itasca. Mary, Wendy, thank you so much for being here. Mary, as I mentioned, this has been a very, very weird school year, and we haven't had a chance to catch up in quite some time. How did the collaborative handle the last year?
Well, like everybody else, we pivoted quite a bit. So because we couldn't be out in the community and be with families and be with our partners together at our typical work group meetings, we did everything virtually. So we contributed to the Zoom fatigue that's going on with everybody everywhere. But we kept in close touch with all of our partners, and then we really shifted the nature of the work that we're doing. We focused on working with our funders like the DuPage Foundation, the Grand Victoria Foundation. We focused on getting funds redirected so that we could work with partners who are directly servicing families in Addison and get more resources to families directly.
Did it make it challenging in your work with the families themselves, especially when I know part of what you're trying to do is make people aware of the services, but you can't get out into the community and meet people with these young children? How was that going?
It was really done mostly through our partners. So partners like the Addison School District, Metropolitan Family Services that has Addison Children's Center, the Early Learning Center, and several other partners like Little Prince Daycare, Project Help. All of the partners that work directly with families anyway, they were doing a lot of virtual work with families. So we were getting the word out through our partners and directly to families that way. The thing that was tricky, we ended up putting in place a diaper and supply distribution process that we ran out of the Addison Children's Center. So we did the drive up thing, just like everybody else figured out how to do, and we ran that for about 10 weeks or so. So in the beginning, it was a little rough getting a new process designed and figured out and getting the communication flow figured out between the families and those of us that were running the distribution processes. But after a couple of weeks, it became real easy to do that.
Really, really. So, like you said, you just learned to pivot on these things. How were your partners doing in all of this, just in a general sense? In
a general sense, partners were all doing very well after the first few weeks. I think that all organizations struggled a little bit, like in the very beginning. Everybody thought we'd be out for 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And then it became apparent that it was going to be so much longer. So it was a little rough in the beginning, but one of the things that was real evident was how important it was that this collaborative group existed. Because we already had strong relationships in place, we already knew each other well, we were able to figure out what we needed to do together and figure out how we could help each other and figure out how to identify the families that needed most help. So it was almost probably the biggest test of the strength of the relationships we've had, and it was really gratifying to see how quickly we could figure out how to work so differently.
Well, why don't you introduce us to your partner agency for this time?
I'd be delighted to. This is Wendy Craven with C.A.B.S, and she has been a partner for several years now.
I think it's about 3 or 4.
Very important. Everybody is, I shouldn't say everybody, but there's a growing awareness of autism in general. And I think the prevalence of the spectrum and the variation of the conditions is such that we need to make sure that people know the resources that are available for families that are dealing with children with autism. So we're delighted that they're part of our group.
Wendy, tell me a little bit about what your agency does.
Sure. At C.A.B.S, Autism and Behavior Specialists, we create an environment where the child learns to love to learn. So we use the guiding principles of ABA therapy or applied behavior analysis. And our programs work on remediating the challenges associated with autism. So examples would be maladaptive behaviors and communication. Those are probably two of the biggest ones, but also perseverance and motivation, flexibility, impulse control, and social interactions. So we serve ages 2 through 26.
Wow.
And that is kind of a unique thing to our company in that we provide services for older teens and young adults. Not every ABA therapy company does. But early childhood, along with early intervention, is really where we want to target the population, as there's more significant changes or support provided for the child to be successful this earlier you start. So one of the reasons we're part of the collaborative. We're funded by major insurances. We accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Aetna.
Typically, how often do you see the students? Is this like after school? Is it once a week, or does it depend?
Sure. So depending on the initial intake that we have with a family, they'll come visit the clinic and we do an initial assessment, and a recommendation will be given. So we provide focused programs, which might be anywhere from 10 or 15 to 20 hours, and we're working on just a few things, to comprehensive programs where it could be a recommendation of 30 to 40 hours a week. Wow. So hitting that early childhood age, it's before they're in any school, but we also have families that make a decision, will their child be more successful getting the one-on-one attention they need with ABA therapy or the school setting, and sometimes we can find a balance between the two, but it's sometimes a hard decision to make. But,
I'm sure.
The goal.
Do you work with
them.
the curriculum that the child is going through in their school district?
So we do also provide school support. So if they are in the school, we'll provide support in IEPs and academics, as well as behavior plans as necessary or needed. I think one of the things that we really try to do at C.A.B.S is not only teach them skills within the clinic or if they're receiving in-home services, but to make sure that the skills they're learning and we're teaching are being generalized to other settings. So school and community would be other examples.
So if there are families watching that are interested in your services or are looking for someone to help them, how would they go about reaching you?
So you can go to our website. We have a tab for intake process to where you can complete your basic information and get that all filled out, and then our intake specialist will give them a call, or they can just call us directly. So our website address is www.C.A.B.S, which is C.A.B.S, autism.com. And another thing that we offer to the community that I always highlight in the collaborative is free webinars. So we like to think of ourselves as experts in the field of autism and provide that community resource. So we'll provide 2 webinars monthly this past year of COVID, and it's open to anyone in the community since autism awareness is such a big thing. So it's really helpful for parents and families affected, really good for caregivers and relatives that might not understand autism as much as the immediate family.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so professionals and students are welcome. We actually, because they're offered online, we have people that attend on the national level and even have stayed up till midnight their time in foreign countries across the world. So just, we look at it as that falling domino of awareness that has to happen, and, telling one more person about autism or about what we do and the services that are available is really important to us. So.
And you have some open houses coming up as well?
Yes, so really big month for us. We have 3 dates that we'll be doing in-person open houses, so that's a first in coming back to us. Those you can find at our website under resources and events. And then we're also offering 2 workshops titled What Makes a Good ABA Program. So that's really good to, if they're looking into services, come find out and learn what makes a really good program, so that you're not just going with any ABA program, you're going with a good program. So whether we were to be chosen as a provider or not, they would at least walk away with that information. And then our school readiness program is something else we've been highlighting. So that had been put on hold, as so many other programs have this past year. So gives the children all those preparatory skills before transitioning into the public school setting, and making sure they're prepared. So we do that in both one-on-one and then also like a small group of 3 to 4 children in the group. So
Great. And Mary, are you kind of transitioning back to normalcy at the collaborative, hopefully?
We are. We're beginning to do that, and we're starting to be able to plan some events in the coming next few months. We're going to be at the Biliteracy Resource Fair. That's actually a partnership between District 88, Addison School District 4, District 45, and a couple of other districts that will be on August 28th from 10:30 until 2:30. So there will be a lot of speakers talking about biliteracy and some related topics, but we'll have resources for families ranging from little children to high school. So that'll be a great event. That's the first time we're having an event like that, and we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it will become an annual event and potentially be at Addison Trail High School next year.
Great.
So we'll see how that goes. And then we continue to do our literacy in the laundromat program. We work closely with C.A.B.S, which is located here in Addison as well, to get our hands on very nicely, gently used books and get books out into the community through the laundromats that we work with. And we're starting to look at what our work groups can be doing together on a regular basis. We're also going to be working with the Addison Early Learning Center. That's the preschool that's part of the Addison School District, and they're the group that does developmental screenings. So one of the things that did happen during the pandemic, as you would expect to have happened, there was a big decrease in the number of children that were getting developmentally screened, and that has become a concern because of the long-term impact on that. So the school district has looked at ways that they can grow their capacity for developmental screening, because the message that we want to get out to families is not just, if you're concerned, you can have a child screened, but learn about what the milestones are so you can monitor the milestones, and then you can be getting your child screened, and you can be verifying that the growth is happening the way you want it to. And just the idea of monitoring the milestones and growth is so important. So we're excited that we'll be focusing on getting the word out about the importance of developmental screening, and that the Addison Early Learning Center is going to increase their capacity for screening. So they're going to be doing screenings on a monthly basis for the coming months, and we expect that to help get us caught up with the families that, you know, have kind of been backlogged or delayed to be getting kids screened.
Yeah, well, you've been hearing so much about, you know, it's almost like we lost a year, and for children, that's a huge amount.
It is. And as Wendy said, early intervention is critical, and that can make all the difference, literally, in the trajectory of a child's development. So parents having children screened is so important. So that's what we're going to be focused on for probably the next year. We'll always focus on it, but really a strong focus in the coming year, so that we know that we can get kids screened, and that's really a lot of families' entryway to like the early childhood and education system and all of the resources that are available. So that's the other reason that it's so important. It helps families know what's available to them in the community.
And so for information about the collaborative, how do they go about finding you?
The best way to find me is either to get on the Addison School District 4 website and look under families. The Addison Early Childhood Collaborative has a link there, or you can always Google. People can always Google Addison Early Childhood Collaborative, and that's probably the simplest way to connect with me. All of my contact information is there, and I'm set up as a central point in the community. So if any family has any question related to early childhood development, whether it's prenatal all the way to age 5 or 6 or so, if I don't have an answer, I can get them connected to the right partners or the right resources. So Google Addison Early Childhood Collaborative, or jump on the Addison School District 4 website and look under families, and you'll find the Addison Early Childhood Collab there.
Great. Well, thank you both for being with us. We will bring up all that contact information on the screen. And just as a note, Mary mentioned the laundromat program. Check out our YouTube channel for one of our previous interviews with Mary and her partner agency to learn about that. I'm Dory Croggy, and thank you for being with us.